like to get started, I have like a 4-minute movie I'd like to show that is taken at one of our school gardens. That's one of our specialties. My talk is really about biodynamic and growing seeds with children, and I think children, along with water, are really our future, and that it's important for them to be able to expand and live into what's growing and what's happening in our natural world, because I think all of the different ways that maybe I've farmed for 38 years or anyone else has, it's hard to pass that along. And I think that if children can make that connection with like our plants and animals and land and water and our cosmic forces, which is part of biodynamic farming, then that is going to be a huge boon for the future. So I'm going to push play on this movie. The sound's not great because I didn't get this to Jay in time.
There is something about planting a seed. It engages us in a relationship with nature and builds community. Learning to care for the earth, the water, the seeds awakens a sense of stewardship, vital to the future. Today we're going to put the corn that we grew at Park Field into the Ordo, and it's going to roast all day long. You can see, like, this one's really special because it has blue corn and the sweet corn together, but it has to cross-pollinate it. Get your corn on your way. Here you go. Look at this pretty corn. When children experience planting, harvesting, and cooking their food together, it inspires them to make connections between people, land, food, and their community.
Okay, great. Well, so I feel like pictures are worth a million words. And actually, if everybody will look, there's a donation jar back there for the school garden in Crestone. And if this doesn't inspire you to give now or give later, I don't think anything really will. So let's see, I want to just say that I came to New Mexico like 38 years ago, and I was the Sustainable Native Agriculture Center harvest manager at the old New Buffalo hippie commune with Amigdio Bayonne, who brought quinoa to this country. And I've been really farming and trying to grow a regional food system ever since then, and saving seeds. And so um, I guess I'm going to just go ahead and move into this. Because it's hard to separate growing seeds, children planting, feeding children in the regional food system. They all belong together. Does this come? All right. So this is something we do every spring with the kids. And I forgot, I'm going to do something while I'm talking. I'm going to pass around a little bowl with some blue corn seed that the children grew. And if everybody would take one and put some intention into that. And then we're going to pass around the seed pot, which we're actually going to give to Jay. But this is what we do with the children, usually in a circle. I'm not going to make you guys all circle up. But we really want there to be the connection. The seeds aren't separate. The garden's not separate. We're all together. And I think that's more important than ever right now. So I'm going to start over here. Yeah, well, pass that and then pass that. So during COVID, this was particularly valuable because there were kids who were like saying, we want there to be rain. And then somebody else would say, I want a kitten. So there was like so many different desires and such a, even with the high school kids and with adults. So anyway, it's a hands-on thing. So this is the center of food that we grew at Parr Field. And this is the seed ceremony with 450 kids. And those are all the seeds they grew. And so we bless those. Every May 15th, we hook it up actually with San Isidro Day, which is a traditional, I don't know if you have that in San Luis or not, but it's a beautiful opportunity to show gratitude. So in the middle there are all our plants and seeds. This is part of the harvest, and these are all traditional seeds. You can see this giant squash here. Like the native seeds have a lot of diversity, a lot more than the seeds we might get from a catalog. And so we are growing native seeds and also other production seeds that may be better producers. So you can see here what's coming out of our garden. This is an example of, that is some old aspen poles. I think those are actually broken teepee poles. And they're planted in just a recycled tire with soil. So it's a way that you can make a garden anywhere. You don't have to have fancy raised beds. You don't have to, I don't really like to say grow food in tires, but this is just a quick way and the kids love it. These are all at schools. Okay, we were able to get about a $2.5 million grant for our school district by this programming. They showcase this programming, and so we are in the second year of a community school grant. It's self-explanatory. This is what we saw in the movie. We do that every Harvest Festival. Do you guys have Ornos here? Ornos, like outdoor cooking ovens? Okay, perfect. Every community should have one. We started getting into high tunnel greenhouses. These are available through USDA national NRCS grants that are still available. They haven't been cut. And so we have them at each school to extend the growing season. And the kids really can engage and harvest their own salad and taste things. There's actually kids, we did a survey with like I don't know, like an official survey team. And kids that know a farmer eat 25% more vegetables and more diversity. So that's like huge. They even think Farmer Micah is a farmer. All right. This is I didn't take out of here. This is a local farmer growing carrots for our school district. I don't know exactly, how far you've gotten in your local community with getting local food into the schools, but the schools are an institutional market that are really beneficial for farmers. And this wheat farmer's here, actually, he's not in the room right now, but I saw him earlier, Daniel Hutchinson. So he grew 200,000 pounds of wheat last year. And I'm just going to say right now that Che right here is going to be helping move that wheat and getting a regional food truck going, a system of distribution so that we can get things from southern Colorado into northern New Mexico. That boundary is artificial, that state line, and we need to really, I think, strengthen. We have Taos is a really good market, and it's not that far away, but we need to be able to take that off the cost for the farmers. Okay, this is Geronimo. We're going to grow 20 acres of blue corn at the Taos Pueblo this year. We grew 2,400 pounds, 8 acres. So we have been doing atole tasting, and we do blue corn muffins, blue corn pancakes in our school lunch program. This is also not really, here, those are local carrots being put on the kids' lunches. And you can see kind of the rest of their lunch isn't very local or necessarily very healthy. This is actually baking with that wheat that we saw, Daniel Hutchinson's wheat. So we're doing training in our school district. Here's kids harvesting carrot seed, and then also doing some work with learning how to wash and eat carrots. And we grow more seeds with our students than any seed growing going on in New Mexico. I don't know about Colorado, but I think that seed growing should just be a part of every garden rather than a specialized idea. And so that's what we're really promoting here. This in the middle, this is a blue corn atole tasting, and on the far right are kids in that ceremony we saw before that are doing a little seed threshing. This is something that I have been working on as a biodynamic preparation with students rather than using just the preparations that Rudolf Steiner invented, which are amazing. I think now the time to collect where we are, what we have, and like let the children really feel what is that and what is that and what is that energy, and create something that is a beautiful relationship and a beautiful connection, because that's what it really is our heart connection. I think that is true for teachers, and it's true for farmers. So all right, so this is actually a harvest from last year, and it's just so beautiful I had to show it to you. And you can see, like, working with the marigolds, working with the squash, like there's just so much connection there. And on the right hand side, there's in the cafeteria, they're opening up the squash and getting out all the seeds. Well, we saw that one before. On the left is actually a high school student from Taos Pueblo who came out of recovery and was a summer intern with us. And so when we're seeing that students start in kindergarten, preschool, and go all the way up through high school. We have high school programs also with high tunnels, grow domes, and it's super therapeutic, and these are really the people that are going to lead us into the future. So here's the broader impact of our work. I'm going to read it. To expand the production of a regenerative shared food shed and collaborate with regional regenerative farm and ranch co-ops to aggregate a consistent and profitable regenerative supply chain, build economic resilience, and increase the percentage of children and families with access to healthy food. So I think this has a lot to do with what Jay's been working with, which is coming out of the communities. This is what communities are building, what communities want. And this is food sovereignty for our children, which is super important. So this is my diagram. Like, I think that even if we don't have children in the school lunch program, if you see how it adds to regenerative health, the regenerative economy, and also to regenerative agriculture. And we are working with building farm and ranch co-ops so that people can coordinate together. I think that's really an old concept in farming, but it really needs to be brought back with a lot of smaller farms also, which we do with our CSA. So our CSA, I've actually co-founded a farm that had a 200-member CSA just out of one farm, and when COVID hit and there were no markets for farmers and there were no restaurants to buy the food, we aggregated. I think Jay actually helped me with that project. We branched into aggregating farmers, and it works really well because, you know, up and down even the valley here, I'm sure there's a place where fruit grows, peaches grow, then over here kale grows, you know, so there's a variety of different microcosms of weather. So we're able to provide, you know, that bounty in one basket, and it helps each farmer get probably, you know, it's instead of going to a second farmer's market, you're able to just come and drop off at the CSA point. So this is a good thing to replicate. It's not really that, but so if anybody wants to talk about that further, I'm happy to share about that. And so I wanted to have a little interactive thing, and I brought my bowl that my friend from the Taos Pueblo made. So I have water from the Rio Hondo where I live, and then I have water that is from the hot springs here. And what I usually do is ask people if anybody has water and they want to put some in here, or if we had planned it ahead, I would have asked you to bring water. But it's a beautiful way for everyone to be involved in what we're creating, because it's the intention right now that is so important. And we're able, if you want to look up, there's a man named Hugh Lovell, and he's actually passed on from this earth right now. But he's somebody that I did want to dedicate this presentation to, because he's really led the way in broadcasting, where you can broadcast the energy out to all of your farm or out to your house or out to your community. So that's something that you can actually check out. But right now we're going to broadcast this here. We're going to create this, and then I didn't really bring containers or cups, but when we're finished, if anybody has the desire, you can take some home, you can spread it on the land, because what we're doing is really, we're potentizing is what it's called. It's the way they make homeopathic remedies also. So you can imagine if everybody has to find the child within themselves, because the children already have that connection. And sometimes we adults have to, you know, make that energy arise a little bit. So if anybody has water and they want to bring it up here, you're welcome to. It could just be a tablespoon out of your water bottle.
I've been drinking out of this.
That's okay.
Okay.
You can use
It's got herb tea in it.
We're not gonna
It's
drink
all
this.
for my land.
That's fine.
Okay, except for the hibiscus.
Like, we all live in different places, you know, and have different plants where we live, different watersheds where we live. And I think what I wanted to do was just kind of make a demonstration. I happen to have this really cool bowl, but it could be anything, right? And it's a good way to bring a community together also. Oh, that's a great color. Did everybody get their corn in this pot? Yeah, okay. So I have a blue scarf down here that has some different petals and herbs and flowers that I've collected here. I did get permission to harvest a few things from the Grow Dome. If you haven't been to the Grow Dome, it's a great time to visit. It's really beautiful. There's so many perennials. It's really well kept, and it's there's a lot of diversity in there. And so if anybody would like to come up and pick a petal or pick a plant, give it a little feeling and put it in the water. Don't rush up here all at one time. All right, so we have some rose petals, a clover. There's a lot of, the rose petals are edible, the clover's edible. Look, here I even found a pine cone out there. There's some calendula, which we make salve. We grow that, collect that, make salve with the children. The more you can engage a child, it doesn't have to be yours. And if you're a farmer and you can invite a group, or if you have an extended family, I think the main point here is to gain accessibility and to be able to allow that creative energy to flow between the children. Really learn about diversity, about stewardship. A lot of places kids don't know where their food comes from. So the more that we can connect them with the land, and it's not even just like a farm, you can go visit a real farm, but your backyard or your front yard or your roadside is just a plethora of amazing herbs and plants and weeds. That's the other thing we do is we teach the children about, like, we have spinach and then we have kalite, which is like the wild spinach. And I think maybe Lucy's you're gonna talk about that tomorrow a little bit in your talk? Yeah. But it's important, I think, to even just like have a little bit of a wild something. It really, if you go in the mountains and you hunt wild mushrooms, if you, have some nettles right now are my springtime favorite. And they're super good for you. But the more that you can, augment your diet and enrich it with something that's from nature. And also, you do want to be careful. Like, I don't just tell kids, go out and eat anything. We're really good at identifying and making sure that things are safe. So that's really important. So there's a few other things here. Okay, so now it's time to stir our preparation. So for and actually, I'm going to put a few of the blue corn seeds in there. Blue corn in northern New Mexico, and just for me, is an amazing plant. It's something that really is medicine, and the native people do use it for medicine when people are even aging or sick. It has like so many nutrients. And my little story about it is that I grew a whole big field of it, and it frosted really early, like September the 6th. We're at the bottom of the San Luis Valley where all the cold drains. And so the corn froze, and it wouldn't make seed. It was like milk stage, if you know what that means. If you squish it, the milk comes out. And I would never, I didn't have time to make Chicos. I didn't have an Orno. I was teaching full time. So we decided to plow it down and have it be fertilizer for the next year. Well, the next spring, that was the strongest, largest field of blue corn I ever saw. And that seed matured underground all winter long. And that really was a turning point for me in my relationship with food production and farming and what's really going on. Because that was, in my world, that was like a miracle. And I see that the seeds have so much intelligence and so much diversity, and they really want to help us. And so that has been my kind of relationship. I always grow blue corn. I consider it a guardian to plant in our gardens. So that's my little blue corn story. So now we're going to start potentizing this preparation. And it's usually you really do this for like an hour, but we're not going to do that for an hour. But you get the vortex going one direction, and then you just stop and go back the other direction. And so now any other volunteers can come up, and have a stir. This is what we do. We go all around and everybody gets a chance. So Caitlin, you want to start? I know you guys thought I was going to make some technical presentation. Yeah, so Lucy's asking if we ever bury the horns. So you get cattle horns. I know someone who's also done it with buffalo horns. And you pack it with manure, fresh manure, and you dig a hole about, I mean, a pretty big hole depending on how many horns you're going to bury. And so we've done it. I had a Waldorf school for 16 years, and then we do it on different farms. You can also buy this preparation, but you pack that really tight and bury them in a pit and basically leave them there for the season and then dig them up, and they've crystallized into like a crystalline form that you have to like scrape out of there, and then that is what you make. It's called horn manure. It's called silica, and it's a really powerful biodynamic preparation. And I think if you are interested, it's just a beautiful way. Like the horns are considered like the antenna, and they call in the cosmic forces. This is really like I do work with the land spirit, and I say that because I don't ever like want to be. I'm so practical, and I get things done, and I'm not like somebody who I don't know is like woo woo. But I have been contacted by the land spirit. And the land wants us to bring it to the table. And the kids know that. They have that relationship. And other indigenous people have that relationship. I don't know how many people were here this morning when Justin spoke. Is that right? But it was like super powerful. And, okay, somebody else. Kevin. Kevin's the UNM Sustainable Farming teacher in Taos right now. So anyway, yeah, so I was able to preserve 200 acres of prime land that was getting ready to be developed in Taos. And that was because I was asked to do it, and I said yes. And I didn't have any money or funding, and I started having festivals and markets and hay rides across that land. And it was a $7 million piece of property. And in doing that, we were able to attract a foundation to purchase it. I really wanted to raise all the money and have it be a community garden for the community. But I'd recommend that you start making a relationship wherever you live, even if you don't live out on the land, but have, wherever you commune with nature. Because the devas and the overlighting devas of the plants and animals, the land spirit, they want to help us now. And we need their help. I have the Taos Pueblo right next door, so I'm pretty lucky. And if any of you have a chance to come up, they have corn dances throughout the season that celebrate the time to plant the corn, the time to weed the corn. You plant when the Pleiades is in the sky. And so, these ways, I think right now supersede the instructions on the back of the seed packet, or what we think we know about what the climate used to be. And now we really need to be working in relation and in collaboration with nature. And that's, I think, a gift that we can pass to the children because they already inherently know that. And so if we can give them an opportunity, it's not something they can read about in a textbook because then they would probably just ignore it. But if we allow them and give them access to the land and to vegetables and food and flowers and herbs and magic, then that is, I think, a really beautiful gift. Yeah, so you can go this way and then get it going and then turn it back the other way. I don't know where we are with time.
We have 10 15 minutes.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or has an experience they want to talk about. Yeah.
So sorry. And if you have a question, raise your hand and I will come to you with the mic so that we can make sure the question is recorded. My question is, what has your experience been like in weaving your biodynamic, like Steiner studies, and your relationship to the pueblo and the land, and learning from like these two different mysticisms of the earth? Like when I first started learning about Steiner, I was like, oh, this is very European, and we're not in Europe, so how do we, honor these lands? So what has it been like to kind of weave those two worlds for you?
Well, I don't know how many of you know about Rudolf Steiner and Waldorf education, but there's kind of like two branches. One of them is rigid, and you do whatever Rudolf Steiner said in the 1920s. And the other one is honoring the teachings and realizing that each teacher and each group of students and where you are is very place-based, and that there's a lot of potential that goes untapped if you just follow a rigid dogma. And even if it's a great one, you're still kind of replicating the same thing. And you're not really encouraging the young teachers, the young people, to be able to flourish. And, the sun is shining every day. That light is reaching us. It's not old light, it's new light every day. And so that's got information, on it that is streaming towards us. So, and Steiner teaches that. But the real truth is, I feel like Steiner, I was going to just say Steiner stole it, okay? But that's probably my little being a rebel. He channeled it, he did. But it's been channeled before. It's really indigenous ways. Like in Mexico, they fill gourds and squash with manure and bury it. So it's not that this was, it did come out of Steiner in Europe, the biodynamic name and a lot of those practices. And I'm just going to say another thing. I feel the same way about Waldorf education, and we use a lot of that in our teaching. But, people get invested in it. And, I could say, okay, I know all about it, and I'm going to now teach classes, and I'm going to be an expert, and I'm going to make each one of you an expert, and you're going to pay me or whatever. It's like a hierarchy. And I feel like we need to undo that, whether it's Waldorf education, whether it's biodynamic farming. We don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I think to just really realize that there's so much. I see that at the Pueblo, the same. There's like so many practices, and I don't pretend to like say, well, we're going to grow blue corn and we're going to use biodynamic preparations and I'm going to tell you how to do it. That's not that's not how I operate. And I think that we all know we do better if we are listening and watching and noticing. And there's so many, like my friend Geronimo, who is standing in the blue corn. We've been working together, I don't know, probably 15 years. And he came to the farmhouse cafe that I started after I was in Mexico. When I came back to Taos, I wanted to save the monarch butterflies because there were 59% less in 1 year. And when I was in Mexico, I was teaching and I went to where they wintered and they were just so amazing. So I thought, I'm going to make an organic restaurant, prove it works, everyone will do it. I'm going to save the pollinators, help the farmers ranchers, make an education project, and return to Mexico in 6 months. That didn't happen, and a lot of other things happened, but I feel like that taking that, that way of holding like the pollinators, holding the culture, and then realizing that like New Mexico, Southern Colorado, Mexico, all of this was connected. Like, it's arbitrary, these boundaries, these land boundaries that we've made, and the cultural boundaries that we've made. And I'm glad that we're not all homogenized. And I appreciate that, that the cultures are willing to share, and we don't want to appropriate culture, but like, so I know I started out to tell you that Geronimo's brother, Jimmy, who's always the one who helps with his pickup truck, they help harvest 8 acres of blue corn, like pretty much by hand with a broken little 2-row harvester, and then we, shucked it and shelled it, and It was a lot of work. We grew 12,000 pounds of carrots that we also harvested by hand and washed and stored and hauled, because what I realized is that we don't have, and I don't know how it is here, but mostly small farmers don't have enough capacity. Like even if you get them to grow more, they don't really have the storage or the tools, or, it's a lot of effort. So anyway, Jimmy this year was in the kiva, which is a sacred thing at the Pueblo. And he was there for, I think it was 35 days in a kiva in the earth at the Taos Pueblo, eating only food that was pre-colonial, that was indigenously grown and processed and taken to him, along with all his kiva brothers. But the point is like, that's a huge commitment. So there's people that are our neighbors that aren't that far away, and all the pueblos all along the Rio Grande have these kind of traditions. And I know that they were in there for us. They were in there for all of us. And we did present at the grain conference. I don't know if any of you have gone to the grain conference or any of those events. They're up here in Colorado. And Geronimo presented, and I did some presentation, and I went over to a Hopi man who had made a presentation. And I was talking to him. He was making peaky bread. I was talking to him about growing blue corn and working in Taos, and he said, well, in Taos, you just have to pray a little bit. But over in Hopi land, we have to pray a lot, And I was just like, oh, it's so relative. But it's true. I'm counting on, people are worried there's not enough snowpack. I think you have more than we do down there. But I'm counting on, other forces to be with us. And I've seen that happen. I've seen rain happen during the corn dance. I've seen them make it rain. And so however we do that, the more that we keep our hearts open, really like with each other. I look around the room, I see so many open hearts. I see so much good energy. And if we, however that happens, organizing a seed exchange, whatever we do in our daily lives. I'm training new cooks right now to cook the 400 breakfasts and the 400 lunches, and we're going to go into summer with expanding that, and but it's really like how we really carry that. Okay, is there any other questions? I'm just going on and on. Yes.
I had more of gratitude than anything else, but my daughter went to Waldorf school in preschool and elementary, and she was able to grind the grain when she was doing her preschool.
Yeah.
And it was something that she still remembers.
Yeah.
And so I think that the more kids have hands-on where they can do that kind of thing. She not only loves to cook, but now she's a school teacher where they have chickens and a little garden.
Yeah.
And is teaching second grade. And so I think the key is really in the children. And
Yeah.
so thank you so much for helping the children, because the more hands-on that they can do with cooking and the food prep, then that much further ahead they are than we were. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And so I thought today about bringing my grinder, because we tote around this really big, heavy, grinder from school to school and event to event. And that's what we do, is grind the grain, grind the blue corn, and sometimes even make pancakes right there on the spot. And it's really true. It's like you get it in your body. And we also have, blue corn that you can shell. They all shell. They sit around on a big blanket, even high schoolers. It's like an emotional intelligence class that we also offer. And so I want to share that. So I have a daughter also who went through the Waldorf education, and she's teaching now also. And I just feel like that is such a valuable connection there. And I think, farming, teaching are really connected. So.
Can you speak a little bit about your water situation down there? I'm looking at the pictures that you showed, and everything looks so prolific and big compared to what I can grow in my garden because of our water situation. I wondered if you could speak about that a little bit.
Where do you live here?
I live in Crestone.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, water is really relative to where you live. I live right now on a farm that has the acequia and has a lot of water, and the water is really close to the surface also. And so they call it Vega land. And there's a lot of Vega land here too. So I think this year, I know because of the snowpack, the acequias are starting to open up sooner than they have before, so they can spread the water. I don't know if you heard Justin, but maybe at the Jay could share his website, because he's working with how to really help the water stay in the soil. So I really resonated with his work. But the other thing is, it's back to the seeds. You know, we've been working with a lot of seeds. There's been so much seed work, you know, that are making genetically, I mean, there's the genetically modified seed, but there's also open pollinated seed that's been bred for flavor and for production. And I grow a lot of carrot seed because I think every child will eat 1 carrot a day. They last the whole winter. I should have brought some carrots because they're better than any carrot you can buy in a store still. You know, they're stored right now. But what I want to get to is the seeds are carrying the memory of when it was a drier time. And I did bring some corn, but I forgot to bring it in here. I usually save like the largest, you know, blue corn that are like the most fantastic and they're just so exciting. But they always have a second corn that is smaller, tighter, not as many kernels. Like, you know, there's always carrying that genetic diversity of, is it going to be a short season? Is there not going to be enough water? And I think that's also a time when we want to look at eating wild food that's growing, you know, that already knows how to grow in these conditions. And I don't pretend to know the answer, because there's a lot of unknown right now about our food supply, about, you know, like, okay, say for instance, carrots. I'm kind of going to go off in a little stream of consciousness, but I needed a carrot harvester when we were growing 12,000 pounds of carrots. So I called up here, San Luis Valley, because I know they grow carrots. I talked to a carrot farmer's wife, and she said, oh, well, we have harvesters, but they come from California. And we grow the carrots, and then they ship the equipment out here, and then we harvest and then cut them in half and then send them back to California. And then they make those bunny love carrots, right, that we can buy, organic or not, in the store. So I was just like, what? Like, you know, like, that's crazy. And that's just a little, that's local, actually, pretty local. And so I think the more that we can work together, because like your land may be, say, dry where you are, but there's maybe another farmer or a community member or an area where there's more water. And I think we're going to have to start to like look at it that way also and adjust our diets accordingly. So I say pick your seeds. And I know there's a lot of different, you know, water collection, but you've got to have water coming out of the sky to collect water, right? So we're also looking at drip irrigating off of the acequia water and collecting that, and then being able to put the water right where you want it. So, I mean, this is also a number of years of gardens, but we are blessed. We have a monsoon season. And even when we've had really, really dry, like, you know, the rain will come in. I've never really lost a crop as a farmer. And I have been farming there for 38 years. And I've saved my food and eaten the food I grew for many years. And so I guess, yeah, I don't know if that's helpful. Wrap it up? Okay.
It's very short.
Oh.
And it does have something to do with water.
2 minutes.
Oh, not even
We're,
2
we're,
minutes.
we're over time.
I mean, we're not over time, just like, no more questions after this.
Okay, this is very last one, 2 minutes.
Okay. About water. I'm reading a book, and it's describing bees and asking bees. And while I'm halfway into the book, I'm sitting at my house, and one of an adventure bee is going back and forth at my door. It's like, I know I'm not going to come in here, but I'm thirsty. So I put the water outside in hopes that the bees, and they also have memory. And that's just it. You know, you come around here, you read these books around here, visit these folks, and the intuition comes back in, where you look at the bee and, what is it? What do you want? Oh, water. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thank you all, and I want to say thank you to Caitlin. And Jay, can you come up here? All right, so this seed pot that we passed around is full of blue corn, and that each person has put some energy in. And I'm going to present it right now to Jay, and she can keep it on her altar. She can bury it. Actually, if you cover it over, you can bury these. And that there's a lot of tribes that are doing that now, burying seeds. These can be much larger than this. But anyway, I thank you all for your interest today, and I hope everybody is able to touch the life of a child one way or the other, and for your own inner child. I mean, I even put bowls of water outside at night and let them freeze, and there's amazing things that you can see that happen in the water. So experiment, play around, and yeah, have a good growing season. And thank you, Jay, for all your years of service.